Give me $200,000 or you're dead to this family. My sister didn't scream it. She didn't whisper it. She said it with the flat, clinical coldness of a debt collector who had already decided I was worth more in parts than as a person. Megan, my older sister, my childhood protector, was telling me that my life, my safety, and my place at the Christmas table now had a specific six-figure price tag. 3 days. That's all it took. 3 days after I made the catastrophic mistake of sharing good news with the people I thought loved me. By the time Sunday dinner rolled around, there were 7 people gathered in my parents' cramped dining room. One of them was my lawyer. One was the pastor my mother had invited specifically to weaponize my own faith against me. And by the time we got to the dessert, someone was crying, but for once, it wasn't the victim. It was the predator. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Before I show you exactly how I dismantled my family's greed with a single brown folder, I need you to understand how I ended up being the bank for a group of people who hadn't spoken to me in months. If this story hits home, or if you've ever been the one everyone calls only when they need something, please like and subscribe. It helps me know I'm not alone in this. Also, drop your location and your local time in the comments. I love seeing how far these stories travel. My name is Thea. I'm 31. I'm an accountant, which means I live my life in columns, assets and liabilities, debits and credits. I grew up in a small town outside Columbus, Ohio, the kind of place where your reputation is built on how often you show up to church and how much you're willing to sacrifice for blood. For years, my family viewed my career as boring until, suddenly, it wasn't. It started on a Tuesday in March, a gray, nondescript Tuesday. I stopped at a speedway outside Westerville to fill my tank. The air smelled like exhaust and cheap coffee. There was a Mega Millions sign on the counter. $1.2 billion. I'm not a gambler. I track every single cent in a spreadsheet, and I bring my lunch to work in Tupperware to save $14 a day. But that day, I felt a strange, impulsive itch. I spent $2. 4 days later, I was sitting on the floor of my apartment, staring at my phone screen until the blue light burned my retinas. I checked the numbers. Then I checked them again. Then I refreshed the page. 2 million. After the lump sum and the heavy hand of the IRS, it was about $740,000. It wasn't never work again money, but it was buy a house and finally breathe money. And what was the very first thing I did? Did I call a financial advisor, a lawyer? No. I did the one thing every good daughter is trained to do. I called my mother. Mom, you're not going to believe this. She didn't just congratulate me. She screamed. It was the sound of pure, unadulterated relief, but not for me. I could hear her pulling the phone away, shouting into the next room, Gerald, Thea won the lottery. Thea won the lottery. For a few beautiful, fleeting hours, I felt like I finally belonged. Within 60 minutes, my father called. His voice was warm, a temperature I hadn't felt from him in years. Proud of you, kid, he said. Those 4 words were the carrot I'd been chasing my entire life. I felt 10 feet tall. Within 2 hours, Megan called, her voice dripping with honey. She talked about celebrations, about family dinners, about how much she'd missed our sister time. Then came the question, the pivot. So, how much was it, after taxes? I told her because I was still naive enough to believe that my family was a safety net, not a spider web. For 2 hours, I was the golden child. It was the most expensive feeling of my life. Do you ever wonder why we crave validation from the very people who have proven they don't deserve our trust? The honey phase ended on Wednesday morning. My mother called me at my desk. Her voice had changed. It was that soft, casual tone she uses when she's about to ask for a favor but wants you to think it was your idea all along. Honey, I've been meaning to tell you. The roof has been leaking again. The estimate came back at $15,000. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could finally get that fixed and not worry about the rain? I told her I'd think about it. I felt a small cold knot form in my stomach. Thursday morning, my father called. No small talk. No, how's work? Just a heavy, jagged guilt trip. You know what your mother and I sacrificed for you? I worked double shifts so you could go to college. We went without so you could have. Here's the thing about that statement. It was a total fabrication. My father did work double shifts, but that money went to his hobbies, to Megan's expensive cheerleading camp and a boat he sold for a loss 3 years later. My college was paid for with federal loans I am still paying off at 31. But I didn't say that. I just listened to the silence on the other end of the line, waiting for the demand I knew was coming. Thursday night, Megan called again. The honey was gone. The sisterly affection had evaporated, replaced by a frantic, jagged desperation. Thea, I need $200,000. Todd and I are drowning. The credit cards, the mortgage, it's bad. You have the money. This is what family does. We save each other. $200,000, more than a quarter of my total winnings. I told her I needed time to process, to talk to a professional. What is there to think about? She snapped. If you say no, don't bother showing up Sunday. Don't bother calling Mom. You're either with us or you're against us. Click. I sat in my apartment in total darkness, the phone still warm against my ear. 3 days ago, I was the daughter who was too busy with work to visit. Now, I was a bank vault they were trying to crack. I felt a wave of shame, then a wave of anger, and then, finally, the accountant in me took over. Friday morning, the public shame campaign began. My phone buzzed with a text from a number I hadn't seen in a year. Pastor David Patterson. Thea, your mother reached out. She's concerned about your heart. Generosity is a blessing. I hope you'll pray on this. Mom had gone to the church. Of course she had. When guilt doesn't work at home, you take it to the pulpit. Then came the text from the extended family. Aunt Diane asking if everything was okay. Uncle Bob mentioning that family is everything. And then, the one that broke me. Grandma Ruth, 81 years old, the woman who taught me to bake. Her text was simple. I'm disappointed in you, sweetheart. Megan had called everyone. She had painted me as the greedy, lottery-obsessed villain who was watching her own sister drown while sitting on a pile of gold. I checked Facebook. Megan had posted in our family group, "Pray for our family." Some people forget what blood means when money shows up. The comments were a bloodbath of likes and prayers. I felt trapped, but then I remembered something. I'm an accountant. I don't just look at the numbers people show me, I look at the numbers they try to hide. I opened my laptop. I pulled up my bank statements going back to 2017. I cross-referenced Venmo transfers, wire receipts, and canceled checks. I spent 4 hours in a cold focus trance. March 2019. $30,000 wired to Megan. She and Todd had separated for the first time. She needed a lawyer, a deposit, and groceries. Her text at the time, "I'll pay you back when I get back on my feet, I swear." She never paid a cent. June 2021. $18,000 for a 2017 Ford F-150. My father's truck had died, and his credit was too trash to get a loan. I bought it outright for him. He told me we'd figure it out. We never did. January 2022, $22,000 for Mom's knee surgery. I paid the hospital directly. She told me, "That's what daughters do." October 2023, $17,000 in rent for Megan. Another separation, another emergency. I stared at the bottom of the spreadsheet. $87,000. In the last 5 years, I had quietly given this family nearly $90,000. I hadn't been selfish. I had been a silent benefactor, a role they had conveniently forgotten the moment I actually had something of my own. I realized then that I wasn't fighting for money. I was fighting for my own reality. Have you ever noticed how the people who ask for the most are the ones who remember the least? Saturday afternoon, the psychological warfare took a darker turn. My phone rang. It was Megan's number, but when I answered, it was a small, shaking voice. "Auntie Thea? Mommy says you don't love us anymore. Is that true?" It was Lily, my 7-year-old niece, the girl I take to the zoo every spring, the girl who thinks I'm a superhero because I can do magic tricks with a calculator. Megan had put her child on the phone to break me. "Lily, honey, I love you more than anything. That will never change." "Then why is Mommy crying?" "She says you're taking our house away." I closed my eyes. The anger I felt in that moment was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. It wasn't hot. It was ice cold. You can take my money. You can ruin my reputation at church. But you do not use a 7-year-old child as a tactical weapon. That is where the good daughter died. I hung up and called Rachel Whitfield, my college roommate and a high-level family law attorney. "Rachel, I need you on Sunday. Wear your most intimidating blazer. We're going to a dinner party." Saturday night, I got a text from Todd, Megan's husband. 6 words. "I'm sorry about all this." I didn't reply. I filed it away. In accounting, a sorry without a correction is just a bad debt. Sunday afternoon arrived. The Ohio sky was a bruised purple. I drove to my parents' house with a brown folder resting on the passenger seat. Rachel followed in her own car. As we pulled into the driveway, I saw the blue Ford F-150 I'd paid for. I saw the minivan Todd and Megan drove. I saw the house with the leaking roof. Mom opened the door. She was wearing her Sunday best, her face carefully arranged in a mask of tragic disappointment. She saw Rachel and her smile faltered. "Who is this?" "This is Rachel. She's joining us." The dining room was a stage. My father sat at the head looking like a king on a crumbling throne. Megan was to his right, dabbing her eyes. Todd was to his left, looking at the floor. Pastor Patterson was there, Bible in his lap, looking grave. They had even set a place for me directly across from my father, like a defendant in a courtroom. Rachel took a folding chair in the corner. She didn't say a word. She just opened her leather satchel and took out a pen. The silence was heavy, thick with the smell of pot roast and unsaid threats. "Let's get this over with," my father said, his voice booming. "Thea, we are a family. When one of us prospers, we all prosper. Your sister is in trouble. $200,000 is a drop in the bucket for what you have." My mother sniffled. "Generosity is a fruit of the Spirit, Thea. Pastor Patterson was just saying how money can harden a heart." I looked at the pastor. "Pastor, were you told the full story of our family's finances?" He blinked, clearly caught off guard. "I was told there was a spirit of withholding." I reached into my folder. I pulled out the first page, the wire transfer to Megan from 2019. I set it on the table between the pot roast and the bread rolls. "Before we talk about what I owe this family," I said, my voice as steady as a heartbeat, "let's talk about what has already been given." March 2019, $30,000 to Megan for her first separation. "Megan, do you remember what you told me?" Megan's face went pale. "That was a gift, Thea. You can't bring that up now." "I have the text right here, Megan. Page 2. I'll pay you back when I get back on my feet. I swear." "You never paid a cent." I turned the page. June 2021, $18,000 for the truck sitting in the driveway. I looked at my father. "Dad, have you made a single payment toward that $18,000, or the insurance I covered for the first 6 months?" He gripped the edge of the table, his knuckles turning white. "I'm your father. You don't invoice your father." "I'm not invoicing you, Dad. I'm auditing you." I saw the pastor lean forward, his eyes narrowing as he looked at the documents Rachel was now quietly passing around the table. He wasn't looking at a selfish daughter anymore. He was looking at a ledger. January 2022. $22,000 for Mom's knee. October 2023. $17,000 for Megan's second separation. Total amount given to this table in the last 5 years, I said, placing the final summary sheet down, is $87,000. The room went so quiet I could hear the hum of the refrigerator. Megan was no longer dabbing her eyes, she was shaking. My mother was staring at the $22,000 figure next to her name, her mouth slightly open. $87,000, Aunt Diane's voice came from the end of the table. She had been invited as part of the support squad, but now she was looking at my father with a strange, hard expression. "Gerald, you told me Thea never helped out. You told me you paid for that truck yourself." "Diane, stay out of this," my father growled. "I will not," Diane said, standing up. "Because you borrowed $12,000 from me in 2018 and told me you were broke. You've been living off these girls for years." The master plan was disintegrating. My mother turned to the pastor, her eyes pleading. "Pastor, tell her about the blessing of giving." Pastor Patterson stood up. He didn't look at my mother. He looked at me. He took his Bible and tucked it under his arm. "Thea, I want to apologize. I was brought here under false pretenses. I was told you were turned away from your family. I see now that you have been carrying them on your back." He turned to my parents. "Donna, Gerald, the sin here isn't greed. It's deceit. I suggest you spend your evening reflecting on that." He walked out. The front door clicked shut. The silence that followed was even heavier than the one before. "You've ruined everything," Megan hissed, her voice cracking. "You brought a lawyer to Sunday dinner. You humiliated us." "No, Megan," I said, leaning in. "I just stopped letting you tell the story. And here is what happens next. There is no $200,000. There is no $15,000 for the roof. In fact, There is no more money. Period. I turned to my mother. Tomorrow, I'm removing my name from your joint savings account. You'll have to manage your own balance from now on. I turned to my father. The truck. I'm filing the paperwork to remove myself as a co-signer. If the bank won't allow it, you have 90 days to refinance or I'll have the vehicle seized. I paid for it. My name is on the title. My father stood up, his chair scraping violently against the floor. He didn't shout. He didn't even look at me. He just walked into his bedroom and slammed the door so hard the pictures on the wall rattled. My mother followed him, sobbing for real now. That left me, Megan, Todd, and Diane at the table. I hope you're happy, Megan said, her face a mask of pure hatred. You've officially killed this family. No, Todd said. We all looked at him. Todd, the man who never spoke, the man who lived in the background of Megan's drama. He stood up, his face flushed. She didn't kill it, Megan. We did. We owe $42,000 in credit card debt, and you told me your parents were going to help. You lied to me. You lied to them. And you used our daughter to try and guilt your sister into paying for your shopping habit. Todd, shut up, Megan screamed. I'm done shutting up, Todd said. He looked at me and for a second, I saw the man he used to be before Megan's demands wore him down. I'm sorry, Thea. You've been more than fair. We'll be out of your hair. He grabbed his keys and walked out. Megan scrambled after him, shouting his name, leaving her plate of cold pot roast behind. I sat there for a moment, the $87,000 audit still lying on the table. Diane came over and put a hand on my shoulder. You did the right thing, honey. It hurts like hell, but you did the right thing. That night, I went back to my apartment. I didn't feel like a lottery winner. I felt like a survivor of a shipwreck. I realized something important that night. Loneliness makes dangerous choices feel reasonable. I had spent $87,000 trying to buy a seat at a table that only wanted me there if I was paying for the meal. The next few months were a slow, methodical cutting of ties. The bank accounts were separated. The truck was refinanced. The Facebook groups were muted. I bought a house. A small 2-bedroom Cape Cod on Elm Street. It has a front porch and a kitchen that doesn't smell like burnt pot roast. The only people I invited to the housewarming were Diane, Rachel, and Todd, who brought Lily. Lily ran through the empty rooms, her laughter echoing off the white walls. She found the second bedroom, the one I'd painted a soft, calming blue. Is this for me? She asked. Whenever you want it to be, I told her. I've set up a $529 college fund for her. $30,000. It's in a trust that only I control. Megan doesn't know about it. My parents don't know about it. Because desire whispers louder than guilt, and I know that if they knew that money existed, they would find a way to justify taking it from a 7-year-old. I haven't spoken to my father in 3 months. My mother calls sometimes, but she doesn't ask how I am. She asks when things can go back to normal. I tell her that this is the new normal, a normal where I am a person, not a resource. Setting boundaries doesn't mean you stop loving people. It means you stop letting them use that love as a weapon against you. I didn't lose my family. I lost the version of them that required me to be a victim. If you're out there, and you're the responsible one, the one everyone leans on until you break, I want you to know it's okay to step back. It's okay to show the receipts. You are not responsible for the dysfunction of people who refuse to grow up. Would you like me to help you draft a boundary-setting letter for your own situation, or perhaps discuss the psychological tactics used by manipulative family members? I'm here for you. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to hear more stories about reclaiming your life. Stay strong. You're worth more than your balance sheet.